This is the growth and development presentation for the school age child. Our objectives include recognizing the normal growth and development for this age group, as well as applying Erikson's and Piaget's stages of development. When we talk about the school age child, we are referring to the ages between 6 years old and 12 years old. So starting with the 6-year-old, this child has an average height of 42 to 49 inches. They weigh anywhere between 35.5 to 58 pounds. They may lose their first tooth at this age. However, some kids may lose their teeth starting at age 5. Some might be a little bit later, but 6 years old is about the average when the first tooth is lost. Their vision reaches maturity, and they have a gradual increase in dexterity. They like to draw, print, color, be creative. And with that and the dexterity, they are increasing their dexterity. So they are able to utilize a smaller writing instrument, for example, a pencil compared to a marker. They're developing a concept of numbers. They can count 13 pennies, even though they don't necessarily have a grasp of what money is. They can define common objects, and they can also describe their use. So, what a fork is used for, what a chair is used for, and etc., etc. They do know the difference between their right and left hands. They can describe objects in a picture, and they can obey triple commands in succession. So you can tell the child 3 things and they'll be able to follow those commands. As far as the adaptive, they are, and going along with the dexterity, they can use a knife at the table, basically not to cut, for instance, like a steak up, but they can spread things such as butter on a piece of bread or maybe cream cheese on a bagel. They are more interested in games such as simple card games, like an Old Maid or a Go Fish. They like table games, tabletop games. They are extremely goofy. They enjoy giggling. They sometimes steal. They kind of test out their abilities. With that, they kind of are pushing the limit a little bit. Going back to the stealing, if something looks attractive to them, they might take it for themselves. They are also, again, with the creativity, they're cutting, fold, gluing things. If you give them a sewing project, they can sew crudely if the needle is already threaded for them. With the 6-year-old, they're able to share and cooperate better with one another. With the games, they will cheat to win. They will kind of, sometimes make up their own rules and cheat because everyone likes to win. They will engage in rough play with friends or siblings, and they may be jealous of the younger siblings. Again, we still have that sibling rivalry going on between the children in the household. They can mimic adults with, doing what the adults are seen doing. So this can be, it's a great time to, model good behavior for the children. This is a good time to start developing healthy lifestyle activities, whether it be through exercise or just positive activities, maybe cooking meals at home together. The child would like to start mimicking this, even mimicking chores too, sweeping, mopping, cleaning the dishes. They're becoming more independent. They're a little bit boastful, and they may end up, telling some little fibs here and there. And they're increasing socialization. They need a great need for friends of their own age, and interactive play. The 7-year-old is an average weight of 39 to 66 pounds. They are growing between 44 and 51 inches tall. They are experiencing a growth spurt of about 2 inches per year at this time. And their jaw is starting to expand to accommodate the more permanent teeth. So as they're continuing to lose their baby teeth and those permanent teeth are erupting, not only in the front, but as the larger molars are starting to come in the back of their mouth. They like to repeat performances to master the task that is at hand. So they'll practice, practice, practice to get it right. They can start counting backwards. They can repeat 3 numbers backwards. They have a concept of time. This is now they can be reading a clock or a watch correctly. They can be a little bit more specific with time, telling time toward the nearest quarter hour. They can understand morning, noon, and night. They are more mechanical in reading. So this is when they are reading, they don't necessarily stop at the end of a sentence. They don't understand all the time what a period means. They might skip words such as it, the, and he, for example. So they just might step over those small words. They can notice certain items are missing from pictures. So even a comparison of the things that are different between 2 pictures. Now the child is able to use the knife to cut meat. They may need some help with tough or difficult pieces, and always, just be careful when you have a child to just be supervising them when they do have sharp objects, such as a knife, in their hands. They can brush and comb their hair acceptably, so they can have it all going one way instead of just all over the place. They do like to help, and they like to have a choice with what's going on, whether it be with getting dressed, with doing chores. Give the child a choice of what's going on, and they will be more apt to do the request. They are becoming less resistant and less stubborn. They like to take part in group play, so many children of the same age playing together. At this age, they do often prefer playing more with children of the same sex, so the boys playing with the boys, girls prefer playing with girls. They do spend time alone. They don't require tons of companionship, but they do have, a group of friends that are forming. The next group are 8 to 9-year-olds. Their general growth and development is about the same for this age range. They have an average weight of between 43 and 87 pounds. They're 46 to 56 inches tall. They're again having another growth spurt, same as the 7-year-olds, about 2 inches per year in height. These kids are just always on the go. They're running, jumping, playing, chasing each other. They are just lots of energy for this age group. They're having more teeth erupt, more of our back molars are starting to come through in their mouth. And they can completely dress themselves. They can pick out their own clothes. They dress themselves completely, fasten zippers, button buttons, tie shoes. They can do everything completely, no help needed from an adult. They are also more limber. They, have smoothness, speed, and fine motor control. Their bones are growing faster than their ligaments, so they are very bendy at this point. They can count backwards from 20. They can describe objects in more detail. So this is not merely the use of the object, but they can describe more about the object. They like to read a lot more. They're at this age, they're being able to read, maybe transitioning from more picture books to chapter books or longer books with more text than pictures. They are more aware of time. They can repeat days of the week, months in order. They know what day it is. They do understand the concept of space as well as cause and effect of what happens. They can solve puzzles and they are working on their conservation of things. They can classify object, that they know that the objects have more than one quality. They might have collections of things, whether it be small trinkets or larger objects, but they like to now start becoming a collector of something. And they produce simple paintings or drawings, more obvious what they are painting. A person more looks like a person. A house has more detail if they're drawing a house. As far as the adaptive, they are very capable in helping out with the household chores. At this age, they might have a chore chart to start gaining an allowance if they want, so they can start taking on more tasks like taking out the trash, maybe feeding any animals if there are any at the house, maybe cleaning up the plates from the dinner table and putting them on the counter, things like that. They generally like school. They like going to school, hanging out with their friends, and learning. They are becoming more critical of themselves. They're a little bit more aware of that people have perceptions of others. They do like pictorial magazines, so this is a good age if the kid wants a magazine subscription. Something with a lot of pictures would be great for this age group. And they can use common tools, like a hammer. They understand what that's for, even a screwdriver, a saw, if, with adult supervision, of course. These kids are very easy to get along with. They're sociable, they're better behaved, they're, becoming more mature. They, with these other responsibilities that they might have with chores and such, they're becoming more behaved. They are becoming more modest as well. They do start comparing themselves to others, and they show friend preferences, group preferences. So this is where they might choose somebody as who their best friend is. They are still dramatic with their life, and they are enjoying group sports, clubs, organizations, things where their friends are involved in, things where there's other kids their age to be around. So this is a great age for them to be trying different clubs and activities. The last age group of kids in this age group is the 10 to 12-year-olds. So these kids weigh anywhere between 54 and 128 pounds. They have an average height anywhere between 50 and 64 inches tall. The remainder of their teeth are erupting, so they should have all their molars by this time. They are still losing their teeth at this time. Their wisdom teeth are not developed yet at this age. That'll come a few years later. And with all of these changes of teeth losing, teeth coming, the other baby teeth still coming in, this is an age range where the children might start visiting an orthodontist to get some braces or retainers, expanders, things like that, some other dental work going on. The other important thing to note with this age group is that the boys are slower to grow in height, but they can gain weight rapidly, so they might become a little obese during this period until they hit a growth spurt in their adolescence. And then in girls, in these 10 to 12-year-old girls, some of the prepubescent changes may start to appear. So they might start developing breasts. Some, even at this age, may begin menstruating for the first time. As far as the mental aspect of the 10 to 12-year-olds, they are writing brief stories, small essays, not only for school assignments, but for leisure. They can use a phone for practical purposes, so calling their friends or now texting their friends using a smartphone. They understand how to do that. They can respond to advertisements. So if they see advertisements for toys or activities to do, they're now being targeted with these ads. So if something seems fun, new opportunities for them to try, those advertisements, they want to consume what is being advertised to them. They are also reading for information or enjoyment. So whether they're reading to learn school material or they just have a book that they're enjoying for fun, they can start reading and enjoying all that stuff. And they might, become, more interested in going to the library for, other types of books, adventure, romance, animal stories. They can do easy repair work. Again, since they are knowing how to use the hammer, the screwdriver, they might be able to tighten some screws if they're helping an adult do some work, or try and do a fix it themselves, maybe put some duct tape on something to repair it. They can start cooking. They may start sewing. At this age, with the children and their interests, some children, they can start using the stove with adult supervision, and starting to prepare simple meals, whether it be something as simple as pouring cereal and milk or cooking something maybe like a macaroni and cheese on the stovetop. They can also be raising pets, so they might be interested in having their own pet, whether it be something small as a hamster up to a larger pet such as a dog or a cat. They want more responsibility, and having a pet companion might be something of interest at this age range. They can stay home alone for short periods of time, such as, if they about an hour or so alone, right? We don't want to leave them home for an extended period of time. But, if the parent needed to go do an errand, maybe do some grocery shopping without the child, they could stay at home for that period. And at this age too, this child can be successful in looking after not only their own needs, but those of the other children left in their care, whether it be younger siblings, or even if this 10 to 12-year-old, if they want to start babysitting, maybe a neighbor or a cousin, somebody else in their life. They can also bathe independently. Sometimes you have to, sometimes they don't want to get in the shower or bath on their own, but once they're in there, they can shampoo, wash up, all that thing on their own, figure out the water temperature. Again, with the personal social, they are enjoying their friendships. They do have an established best friend at this point. Again, somebody that they might have had friends, been friends with in a previous class. Like we talked about with the 8 to 9-year-old. It could still be their best friend from that age group or before. They enjoy conversations. They do like both their mother and their father. And not only just the mother and father, but they like their family. The family has meaning to them. They like to also, uh, they're respecting their parents. They like their mom wants to please her in many ways, maybe being a exceptional student. Again, with the father too, he might be, or the father figure, somebody who's admired, maybe idolized. And also at this age, they start, to begin interest in the opposite sex of, another companion. For Erickson's stage of development in this school age range, they are in the phase 4, the industry versus inferiority. So with this, the sense of industry, it's a stage of accomplishment. This can happen anywhere between about 6 years old through adolescence, so about that 12-year-old age. And the main goal of this stage is the development to achieve a sense of personal and interpersonal competence through acquisition of technologic and social skills. These school-age children, they're eager to build skills and participate in meaningful and socially useful work. Their interests are expanding, and with a sense of independence, the children want to engage in tasks that they can complete. So if they fail to develop the sense of accomplishment, this is where that sense of inferiority comes into play. Also, inferiority may happen if the previous stages have not been successfully mastered, or if the child is incapable of assuming or they're unprepared to assume the responsibilities associated with developing the sense of accomplishment. Sometimes feelings of inferiority or lack of worth come from children themselves or from the social environment. Children with physical or mental limitations are sometimes at a disadvantage for the acquisition of certain skills, especially when the reward structure is based on evidence of mastery. The children who are incapable of developing these skills are at risk for feeling inadequate or inferior because they're not able to achieve that mastery. In Piaget's next stage of cognitive development, this is the concrete operational stage, and this occurs between ages 7 and 11 years old. Concrete operations is when the children are able to use their thought process to experience events and actions. So during this stage, the children develop an understanding of relationships between things and ideas. They progress from making judgments based on what they see to making judgments based on what they reason. They are increasingly able to master symbols and to use their memories of past experiences to evaluate and interpret the present. So one of the major cognitive tasks for school-age children is mastering the concept of conservation, and this is depicted in the picture on this slide. This is when physical matter does not appear or disappear by magic. The child learns that certain properties of the environment are not changed simply by altering their disposition in space. They're able to resist perceptual cues that suggest alterations in the physical state of an object. So the nurse can use commonplace items to demonstrate this conservation of liquid, mass, number, length, area, and volume. So example in this picture, the first cell of the comic strip depicts two glasses, equal glasses of water. The middle strip, someone takes one glass and is pouring the exact same amount of liquid into a graduated cylinder. So with that concrete operational stage, when the child is asked, do these have the same amount of water? The fact that they saw the two equal glasses of water with one being poured into a taller, skinnier tube, they will be able to say, yes, these two do have the same amount of water, even though the one is taller than the other. Thank you.